Hello, welcome to Easy Does It. I am Easy, and I got a show for you. I want to talk a little bit about something that's been bothering me within the Chicago Clubhouse community, and that is these people. Y'all were going crazy in the group chat because I was saying, guys, this sucks, but we got to root for the Packers today when they were playing the Panthers. And y'all were like, how dare you? How dare you root for Green Bay? What do you think you're doing? You're not a real Bears fan. Who do you think you are? We don't fucking root for the Packers here. This is a Bears podcast. Well, let me tell you something, all right? It wasn't about rooting for the Packers to win. It was about rooting for the Panthers to lose because we have their draft pick. And because the Packers ended up winning, we are one step closer to getting that all-important number one overall pick. So, no, I'm not going to apologize for, wanting the Packers to win over the Panthers. I'm just not. I'm sorry. I just apologized. I'm sorry for not being sorry is what I am. I'm sorry for that. This is just not a thing where I'm like, yeah, let's go Green Bay. I want Green Bay to win all the time, every game. But it is a thing where it's like, yeah, I mean, I want that number one overall pick. And then I want Green Bay to lose every other game that they ever play for the rest of their lives. It wasn't like believe me, I was broken up about it. I was hurt. It felt like I couldn't even watch the game because like every internal instinct of mine to root against Green Bay was just like, no, you can't do that this time because you need the Panthers to lose. And of course the Packers almost fucked it up for us, but they ended up hanging on. But don't think I'm about to go buy some green and yellow shit now. Hey, it's just very frustrating because like we all want the same thing here. We want what's best for the Bears, and the best thing for the Bears is that the Panthers keep losing. And now we need the Jaguars to win and the Bucks to win consecutive games. That's our season right now. We need if the Jaguars beat the Panthers and then the Bucks beat the Panthers, the Bears win the Super Bowl again. So I am pretty stoked for this weekend. It's gonna be a fun weekend of football. If in fact the Panthers end up losing, because I don't see the Cardinals losing to the Eagles, and I don't see the Cardinals losing to the Seahawks either. Although if the Bears do find a way, I mean, look, if the Seahawks and Rams both lose out and the Bears win, and then like the Vikings beat the Packers and then the Lions beat the Vikings, the Bears are in the playoffs. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk about that much more because I know it's a pipe dream. And besides, do we even want to see this team in the playoffs? Like, is that something we really want at this point? I don't know if I could deal with the stress. I think I'm good. I've punted on this season. After the Browns game, it took me a little while, but I punted on the season. Yeah, Frank pointed out correctly, and need the Falcons to win. Shout out Robbo. We got this. Yeah, we got this. We got this. The ball. This is, what do we always say? We're like, we got them right where we want them. That's what's going on with the Bears. This show is unofficially brought to you by Vitamin Water. It's like water, but it's juice. Also, I want to address something now that I got Frank listening and Robbo listening, and hopefully JB tunes in. But y'all were talking some mad shit on the Cubs during the last show, and I just want to talk about that real quickly. Saying that the Cubs, they are the cheapest team in baseball. They have the third largest market in the game, and they don't spend a dime. They don't spend any money. Like, there's no excuse for that. The Cubs spend money. The Cubs absolutely spend money. They just don't spend stupid money. They spend relatively smart money. And the reason why they don't spend stupid money is because they're learning their lesson from the Jason Hayward contract. You can't just give out contracts willy-nilly to people and just expect them to pay out. Like these long-term deals are not as awesome as a lot of people think they are. Yeah, well, prove you wrong. All right, well, they're paying Ian Happ. They're paying so Frank is saying, yes, sir, prove me wrong that the Cubs are cheap fucks. All right, well, look, they're paying Dansby Swanson 7 years, $177 million. They're paying Ian Happ, on a team-friendly contract, really solid player. They're spending money on Nico Horner. They paid him 3 years, $38 million. This is just off the top of my head. They're paying Jameson Taillon. Had a rough year, but he should bounce back. He's usually like a pretty solid, consistent number 3, number 4 pitcher. 4 years, $80 million. Kyle Hendrick is under contract still, and also team-friendly deal. They get a lot of bang for their buck. And by the way, I've been critical of the Cubs for their spending in recent years. But last year, the Cubs had a pretty good team. Bullpen got injured. They faltered down the stretch. That's what happens. What up, Ace? Welcome to the show, sir. What up, and bear down. Yes, as always, bear down. We had a nice win on Sunday in a meaningless game. Name me a big free agent. They went out and got money. That wasn't a hit on the Cubs. Chicago sports are cheap fucks. I just did name you a big free agent. They went out and got and paid big money. Dansby Swanson. And he was one of the best shortstops in baseball. I mean, yeah, he doesn't hit as well as you'd like, but defensively, one of the best shortstops in the game. And offensively, we're still solid. He'll hit it. He has some power. He had a good year. And yeah, so there you have it. Also, let's not pretend they're like, it's not like they're not talking to Cody Bellinger about extending him. Like just because Yamamoto and Ohtani go to the Dodgers, that's not an indictment on the Cubs. That's just the Dodgers, being the Yankees, the new Yankees, and just spending so much money on everything. A good free agent signing, not an elite signing. Sorry. Okay, well, Frank, first of all, you don't even like baseball, so I don't know why you... White Sox fans are so weird, because y'all are just like, oh, yeah, let's go Sox, baby. Let's go Sox. But you don't actually watch the games. You don't pay attention. Like, you're just like, you might check a box score every now and then, but, like, y'all don't actually give a shit about your team. Like, you're just like if the White Sox were good for 1 year, like the most fair weather fan base. Like, in August, if the White Sox were good, y'all would be like, oh, look at us. We're so good. We're so hot. But because the White Sox have been shit the past few years, it's just like, oh, yeah, we better, like, we're just a terrible team. They don't do anything right. Just very easy to get mad at them. Yeah, the Cubs, as Ace is saying, they signed a few players last year. They just waited until late in the offseason. Also, might I remind you guys, top 5 farm system in all of baseball right now because they traded away their top tier talent. And now we're seeing that farm system. We're seeing these guys, finally start to come up, right? We're seeing these guys finally make it to Major League Baseball, and they're really paying off. Jordan Wicks done a nice job. Then Pete Crow Armstrong obviously wasn't great in his short time last year, but he's going to be an absolutely amazing center fielder defensively, which matters. You need great defense in center field, by the way. Sox had that too, Chief. Don't forget, and they failed epically. Yeah, they did fail epically. That is true. The Sox definitely failed epically. But yeah, like basically, I just want to set the record straight. The Cubs, they're not the Ricketts family. They are not cheap fucks. They are currently paying money for several good players. I don't give a shit about the toilets at Wrigley Field. I think it's hilarious that they still pee in horse troughs. Anyway, there are still plenty of good free agents on the market, by the way. Let's not pretend that just because the 2 top name free agents signed with the Dodgers, let's not pretend that means there's no other good players available. All right? Just because we didn't outbid them for 2 superstars, it doesn't mean we're not going to make the right moves to improve this offseason. Jordan Montgomery, still available. Blake Snell, still available. Those are 2 really high-quality left-handed pitchers. Josh Hader, out of the bullpen, another lefty. He's available. I hope the Cubs get him. That'd be great. They need someone for that bullpen to just shorten games. And people are like, oh, well, he wouldn't go 2 innings last year. Yeah, well, he played for the Padres last year. Like, there's no point. Like, they weren't going anywhere. They were not going to make the playoffs. So, yeah. Yeah, Crazy Ace, I'm glad you agree. I appreciate not being the only Cubs fan involved with the network. Ohtani was never going to come here. Never. That was a pipe dream. That was an MLB The Show dream. That was never going to happen. And honestly, I'm no sour grapes here. I am glad that didn't happen. I don't want the Cubs to be paying that contract, even if it's deferred, because I want the Cubs to be competitive throughout my life, and I don't trust that Ohtani is going to stay healthy. Also, I do think there's going to be more players in the mold of Ohtani going forward. I think that there's pitchers hitting isn't a new thing. Pitchers being able to hit. Maybe if Carlos Zambrano would have dedicated more time in the batting cage, he could have been a DH, That guy could mash. And as my dad says here, it's not Jed's MO to pay that much for a reliever, but it would be great. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think he's going to do it. But if he does, I would be very happy because that guy, I mean, he throws absolute gas. And also, like, he pitches. Like, he doesn't just throw heat like Chapman. Well, I mean, Chapman pitches too. Chapman's a Hall of Famer. But it's still very important to have that kind of guy in the bullpen. Look, oh my God. See, look, there's another White Sox fan being wrong. The White Sox won in 2006. Not shit after that. Same with the Cubs because they don't spend the money to keep the team afloat. First of all, the White Sox won in 2005. All right. If you're a fan of the team, you should probably know that. All right. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Secondly, the Cubs went 2015, won a playoff series, lost in the NLCS. 2016, won the World Series. It was the best day of my life. And it will always be the best day of my life. 2017, won a playoff series, lost in the NLCS. So that winning 3 playoff series like that, I consider that an accomplishment, considering the World Series was sandwiched in between, those 2 NLCS losses. Yes, the next 2 years, the Cubs definitely did choke and underperform. But trading the team and selling the team, because Frank says because I care more about the Bears Super Bowl appearance in 2006. Fair enough. I could respect that. Cubs top 3 in profit and from what they make as opposed to what they spend is humiliating. No, it's not humiliating. It's definitely not humiliating. What's humiliating is having what's his fucking name, Reinsdorf, as an owner. What's humiliating is rooting for a team that's named after the most boring article of clothing. But hey, I don't hate the White Sox. I just don't. I don't understand why the Cubs live rent free in their heads. But yeah, I just want to say. And by the way, I do have a guest on the show tonight. And I don't want to just like leave him hanging because I'm gonna add him on pretty soon. But I just want to say about I had to get my piece out about the Chicago Cubs because they're not cheap fucks. They're gonna make some moves this offseason. Like they're gonna bring some people to Chicago. They'll probably overpay for some people because that's what the market demands nowadays. And that's fine. That's they're gonna make the team a little bit better. And the farm system's really good. And yeah, you could say, oh, the Cubs didn't keep the team afloat. The Cubs traded everyone in 2021, which was 5 years after the World Series championship. Yeah, as opposed to a baby bear, because all the Cubs do is cry. Look, okay. We root for the Bears, right? Our favorite team is. I'm gonna put Noah on the show because Noah, you see how funny that is, right? Like
I like that one. That was fun. I like.
Yeah,
that.
Sorry for the lack of an intro. Welcome to the show, Noah Gross, head coach at University of High School football,
Yep.
and former offensive lineman for the.
Just want to point out on the Cubs also spent money on the Japanese outfielder.
Oh yeah, Seiya. Oh, thank you. I don't know why I forgot about Seiya Suzuki, who absolutely rakes.
You were also never going to get Ohtani, and on top of that, you were never getting Yamamoto. He was never considering the Cubs. No, he wasn't.
True.
So True. I'm not the biggest baseball brain in the world. The Cubs
you're getting better. You're getting better. You're learning.
The Cubs blew it up 2 years ago and are now in a place where the Cardinals of now are not the Cardinals that have kind of been the Cardinals of our lifetime. Pirates don't really know it. There's no reason the Cubs couldn't take the division this year from what I understand.
The Pirates. Yeah, I will give you Suzuki. Yeah, you will give us Suzuki because he's a good ass player. Look, the core.
And it was a big contract too.
Yeah, and the core of Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, Nico Horner, and Seiya Suzuki. Those are 4 really good players.
And I would guess they're at their
that's a solid foundation with Yan Gomes, still really good catcher for cheap. And he's getting a little old, but he had a career year last year. And there's a good chance they bring back Bellinger.
Baseball really different than football and basketball, where it's kind of in both football and basketball, you need to make your free agent signings, not even when free agency starts. No, you need to be in the early tampering period and have your deal done 2 days beforehand. Baseball,
how many people
forever?
How many people had the Diamondbacks go into the World Series this year? Right. I certainly didn't, and they didn't make any massive free agent deals or anything like that. They did it all on homegrown talent. And right now, the Cubs have a lot of homegrown talent. And I was very upset at the end of last season, of course, because the Cubs they choked in ways that almost felt that almost felt like
Impossible.
divine intervention again, which is never fun. But like, after a couple days and being able to look back on that season objectively, it was a good season. It was a good season. Okay, but Frank is saying, but people need to stay atop and build a dynasty. You need to spend 3 years. Is that what we are happy about? I was happy they won. They should have won more. Facts with the Sox. Hell, same with the Bears. First, okay, there's no dynasties in baseball anymore.
Yeah.
All right, like that. Like the Yankees were the last dynasty. You can make a case for the Astros for what they've done in recent years in that shitty ass division. But and like they've won, obviously 2 World Series, but there's been new teams pretty much every year. Like it's not like it's progress isn't linear, and it's like, again, the Cubs traded guys in 2021, and these aren't guys that are going to be helping the team right now, except maybe Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber rates with the Phillies, but even he's his strikeout machine. I love Kyle Schwarber. I wanted the Cubs to keep him, but I'd rather have Bellinger. Also, if we're going to talk about that, look, Javi Baez, probably one of the worst free agent signings in Tigers history. I love Javi. He's one of my favorite players of all time in any sport. He's top 3 for sure. Up there with Charles Tillman and Kyle Hendricks. But no, he's terrible free agent signing. He's been horrible with the Tigers. Chris Bryant has not been able to stay healthy at all with the Rockies, and he hasn't been good when he has been healthy. Anthony Rizzo, he started off pretty good with the Yankees, but he's got a lot of back problems, and he's definitely benefiting from that short porch out there. And it's like, yeah, like they had to move on from these guys, and because they did, they currently have a very strong farm system that's going to help them compete for years. Dynasties won't exist in football anymore now that the meta is go all in while we have a QB on a rookie scale contract. Yeah, that's a fair point. Also, hi, Daniel. I don't know you.
Like they've got Pat. They go in every year going, oh, we're going to Super Bowl just because of a single guy. You know what I mean? That which is like just kind of how it is.
Yeah. Oh no, completely. No, honestly, the Eagles were a lot like that. Your boys in 2011 with the Dream Team. That 1 year. It was crazy. That was the 1 year where I was like, really, really, guys, like we're going to already be saying that shit. I love how
and then like Vince Young said it. I was like, you're the backup quarterback. Why are you talking? Like,
who do you think you are, Vince? Although that Rose Bowl was pretty cool, Vince. But yeah, that team, that 2011 Eagles team, that's when Nnamdi Asomugha got exposed big time.
Well, it wasn't that he got exposed. It was that he was an exclusive man corner who got paid a ton of money to come and play zone. And he's like,
I thought it was the opposite. Was it not the opposite?
Oh, all the way around. Thank you. Yeah. And he was a zone corner. That's my man. And it was like, I got my bag and like, I don't need to try because I already got the bag. So like, I'm not going to try. And then he didn't. Like, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Honestly, I don't blame him. If I got paid millions of dollars, maybe I would stop giving a shit.
Which like, is another thing going back to the Cubs point is like, look, like, I understand the point about like spending money. I'm a Mets fan. I have been waiting all offseason for them to spend money. I get it. But at the same time, the like just spend money to spend money. We have seen the repercussions of that in like all sports. We saw it with the Rams and their draft capital. Like they needed a minute.
We saw it with the Mets.
Mets are paying $102 million luxury tax. It's like, yeah, Cohen can afford that because he's Steve freaking Cohen. But like not every team can be doing that. And again, I think this is something I have encountered. I don't want to say Cubs fans. I don't want to say Chicago fans in general. I think sometimes Chicago fans exclusively want the toppest tier of the toppest tier free agents, and anything that isn't good. And I'm like, oh no, like Montgomery would still be a very good starting sign until he signed.
Montgomery is an Iron Man.
Giolito would make a ton of sense. He's now with Boston.
Congratulations to Giolito, former White Sox. Realizing I need a little color in my life and signing with the Red Sox. Smart move for him. And going to a winning organization is always good. So shout out, props to Giolito, 2 years, $38 million. But on your point on Montgomery, it's like, look, Yamamoto, I think he's going to be great in MLB, but he's never pitched in MLB. Montgomery, you know what you're getting. You're getting a really, really good, solid starter who could pitch many games throughout the season. He's been an absolute, he's been kind of today's definition of a workhorse. I'm not going to say he's John Lester, but he's got some Lester qualities, World Series champion and some inflated numbers from playing with the Yankees for a while. And I think people need to remember that too. Is like with baseball,
guy.
Kind of like football, how like dome quarterbacks usually do better. Players who play in Yankee Stadium or Coors Field will put up better offensive numbers than ones who play in Detroit or San Diego because all the parks are different. And people, like you need to contextualize that. Like playing at Wrigley Field is a challenge in and of itself because you play more day games than any other team. You got a lot of Friday afternoon games. You got a lot of and so like you're playing up there and in a stadium where the wind is everything, where it's like like you could hit a ball that in any other stadium would go 450 yards or 400, not yards. That'd be crazy. But that would go 450 feet. But like on a day where the wind's blowing in, it goes like 250 feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just like, you got to remember the Cubs are a unique team because of, like their scheduling and because of just the differences in their own stadium. But like, let's not pretend the Cubs don't spend money because the Cubs are paying guys and they're paying good guys too. They have a good outfield, assuming Pete Crow Armstrong comes up and kicks as much ass in center field as I expect.
He will.
An outfield of Ian Happ, PCA, and Seiya Suzuki. That's a solid. That you can win a division with that outfield if you have more pieces.
Again, this NL Central is not like this impossibly difficult. Cardinals have it on lock the way it was for like bluntly the majority of like the 2010s. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I am very much in the camp of I like the way the Cubs are doing things. Like people are like, oh, they haven't even signed anyone yet. That's okay. Take your time. Now, look, if all the good ones just disappear without the Cubs getting any of them, then I don't mind. Wait, solid fourth place in the division, Frank. One sec. Let me find the NL Central standings real quick because I'm pretty sure we were second place in the division this past year. Yeah, I mean, we were second place last year, Frank, and that was with Seiya being injured for much of the year, and with Ian Happ being David Ross putting Ian Happ as the number 3 hitter was a big mistake because he's not a number 3 hitter. So Craig Counsell will know better than to do that, and that was before PCA got up there, and Bellinger missed a bunch of time, and I still think there's a good shot Bellinger comes back. Yeah, no, that's not fourth place in the division, Frank. That is like second or first place in a division where the Brewers, losing their manager to us, one of the most highly coveted managers in baseball. Yeah, like I think we're going to win the division next year if we just make a couple of key moves.
I think let's
not pretend the Reds are anything other than hype.
I can see the Brewers blowing it up. I can see Corbin Burns getting traded. I could see them like resetting too. I can see
Are the Cubs playing right now? I thought it's December. I don't care about last year. I'm saying this year, says Frank. Well, Frank, guess what? Every team in the NL Central kind of sucks. So I can't look. I'm not saying it's going to be easy for the Cubs, but I would be very surprised and definitely disappointed if they don't win the division this next year, because like after what they did last year, there's a lot to build on. Frank's getting better. Oh man, and now Frank's throwing random strays at Noah. Noah's beard has a better chance of looking good as opposed to the Cubs. Noah, I think your beard looks really good.
Thanks, bud. That's all I need from you.
It's a nice one.
If I was a White Sox,
but no, we'll make the playoffs, and then next year it'll be, and then the year after that, I think we're gonna really start competing again. But yeah, what were we gonna say? Noah, it sounded like you had a point to make.
No, I was gonna say, how long has the manager been there for the Cubs now? It's been a minute, right?
Well, David Ross, we fired him.
Oh, it's not that Papa Ross got fired. What was it, 2 years ago or last year?
No, this year.
Oh, it was this year. Oh, the new guy.
Yeah.
So the new guy, right. Hired the new guy this year from the Brewers. Right. I did know that because the Mets.
Right. And so so we got Craig Counsell now, and Craig Counsell knows what the fuck he's doing. And David Ross, I do think look, and a lot of Cubs fans that I associate with would disagree with me on this. I think David Ross cost us like a game every week, at least. Like I think he made some pretty poor decisions, and I like him. I think he's a good guy. I don't even think he was like a bad manager. I just think he got a little bit in his head sometimes, whereas Craig Counsell's, I've always appreciated Counsell's like objectivity, and I think that now that Counsell's going to be, like now that he's with the good guys in Chicago, I do think he's going to be able to have a lot of success if the Cubs are able to spend a little money, hopefully pretty soon. But again, baseball doesn't start for a very long time. So, yeah. And, really the whole point of this rant was to say the Cubs aren't just like some cheap, Frank doing his little, that's so funny. I love when Frank does that shit, when Frank comments as himself and not himself. And my dad wanted to correct you. Grandpa Ross, not Papa Ross. You're welcome. But I like Papa Ross better, honestly. I think that
because I honestly thought he looks kind of Smurf-like, and I can so picture him with the hat on, like Papa Ross.
He is a little Smurf. He is a little Smurfy, but I think it's like, I like that better than Grandpa Ross. I think we should have called him Papa.
Of Chicago managing, Chicago coaching, I know we talked about it. What are your thoughts on? Do you want Eberflus? I know earlier you were like, get rid of Eberflus. He's gone. He's terrible. I know I brought it up recently. Some delusional fans are like, make him the DC and hire a new head coach.
Yeah, that'll never happen.
Are you like
Bears fans? Stop being delusional. We're not demoting Eberflus. Okay, we're either firing him or we're letting him ride out his contract, but we're not demoting him. That doesn't happen.
They're playing hard for him.
Yeah, and look, I think he's earned himself some consideration for another year.
Sure,
but also I think he sucks, especially late in games.
Yeah,
where I'm at with that is honestly where the truth is where I'm at with that and where I'm at with everything is I am ride or die with Poles. I think Ryan Poles will make the right decision, and I think Kevin Warren will have a big influence and make the right decision.
That's fair.
I don't, head coach. Yeah, obviously, I do want Eberflus gone because I think the Bears could do better, and I think you could get a defensive coordinator, who calls defenses that are similar to what Eberflus wants to do. And we do have those defensive players available, but I do think it's like the Bears will be able to fire their head coach and still kind of continue more or less what they've been doing on defense the last half of the season, because they play like the cover 2 scheme where everything is just kind of consistent. So as long as they keep those same principles alive, defensively, and the players stay healthy and the players are still there, I don't see why the team is gonna I don't see why firing Eberflus would make the defense look so much different.
I think it's also tough because you need to deal with the fact that it's a 2-part decision. A, are we firing our coach or keeping our coach? And then B, are we drafting a quarterback, keeping Justin? Because you need to make those things line up. If the coach you wants to hire wants a new quarterback, you have to take a new quarterback. You can't get the coach you want but keep Justin. If he doesn't, you got to make sure your quarterback coach are meshing.
And look, and it's interesting. I'm glad you say that because as an outside observer, as a non-Bears fan that you are, it's you see the dilemma differently about the quarterback situation. I am also on the quarterback situation. I'm ride or die with Poles at this point. Obviously, I like Justin Fields. I think he's really good, actually, and I think that I think he's just still pretty raw, and it was going to take him some time to develop. But I've seen him improve, throughout the year. That being said, unlike some people, looking at you, Frank O'Dowd Marshall, unlike some people, I think Caleb Williams is going to be very good in the NFL.
Of course he is.
So I understand. And the thing is, here at Chicago Clubhouse Network, we've kind of created an echo chamber where everyone in this group is ride or die with Fields. And look, I'll ride or die with Fields as long as he's the Bears quarterback, but I'm rooting for the front of the jersey. I'm rooting for the colors of the uniforms. I'm rooting for the big orange C. So, I don't have any specific loyalty towards Justin. I am loyal towards the Chicago Bears scoring more points than their opponents. And if Ryan Poles thinks moving on from Justin is the way that will, lead to the Bears having more long-term success, then I don't mind it. And, maybe eventually I'll regret that, if Justin goes to the Falcons or something and ends up just absolutely kicking ass. But I don't know, man. I don't think that is practical at the moment. I think right now, what I would do if I was the Bears, if I'm being honest, is I like the idea of riding with Justin one more year because there's a reason rookie contracts are 4 years. The reason is you can't tell right away all the time how good a quarterback is. And, like I said, progress isn't linear. And, if you look at Geno Smith, he took years to become a successful quarterback, and if you look at some people like Justin Herbert, he was immediately really good, but maybe he peaked a little early and, kind of went on more of a decline in recent years or in recent games, I should say, with the Chargers. So I guess what I'm saying here is that look, if the Bears decided to get Caleb Williams, a Heisman winner with as much talent as he has, I wouldn't be I wouldn't not be excited. I still want to ride with Justin. I lean towards wanting to ride with Justin, but I don't want to get in this place where the Bears draft this rookie quarterback and all of a sudden we're just like, oh, well, we're terrible. Like we just count him out immediately before he plays it down.
Well,
and your friend Daniel, I believe it's your buddy, right?
Yeah. It's Axe.
Yeah. So he says, obviously I have a bias given my earlier comment, but I'd move on to a new 4 years rookie scale contract in a heartbeat, especially with the team is stacked with the Bears. So yeah, Daniel's more on the on the move on side, and I get that. Like people are saying it's so stupid to want Caleb Williams. Like it's not stupid.
No.
It's not stupid at all.
So
yeah.
I have no issue smashing the echo chamber and being the voice of reason. The Chicago Bears should unequivocally, without a doubt, undoubtedly take Caleb Williams. I will stand on the mountain and scream it. He is an infinitely better prospect than Justin Fields ever was or ever will be. I'm sorry. Some guys take time. No, they really don't. Not really. The NFL kind of shows you your quarterback booms in the first 2-3 years, or he doesn't. Yes, Geno. I'll give you Geno. You got one. Congratulations. But guys show up. Trevor Lawrence, the second he got away from Urban Meyer, started playing good football. Jalen Hurts, a second-round pick, his second full year as a starter, playing great football, MVP candidate. Brock Purdy, second-year quarterback, MVP candidate. Go to Lamar Jackson, who was the biggest project quarterback in the history of the NFL. One MVP in his third season, I believe. No, you don't suddenly figure it out after 4 or 5 years. Even if, I'll give you guys, he didn't have good coaches, he didn't have receivers, he didn't have whatever whiny excuses I've had here for 4 friggin' years. No, Justin simply doesn't have the ceiling even close to Caleb. On top of that, Caleb's coming out of a system with the greatest quarterback coach in the history of college football. I will say that right here and now. Look how many quarterbacks he has already in the NFL after coaching for
is it Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts?
And Jalen was not good at Alabama. He had to transfer, and he turned him into a second-round pick who was last year an MVP caliber quarterback and is still, I would argue, a top 5-10 quarterback in the NFL. This is where I get a little bit not you, Bears fans.
You see
there
where
are a billion reasons to take Caleb. There's 2 to keep Justin because he's fast and can throw it far and has shown flashes. Cool. Those 3 things in my head don't outweigh the hundreds of reasons to take Caleb.
Now, and look, and here's the thing though. Look, and hopefully Frank's still listening because I think I have a feeling he's keyboard warrioring. That's a tough little verb. And I hope you can see the distinction here or the differentiation because I'm not anti-Caleb. And I'm
right. You're speeding on this. God, no,
I'm tweeting on this, and I'm. This is where I'm saying this is why I'm not a GM. I'm deferring to polls, but I'm also
right.
Look, at a certain point, a lot of the criticism I've read of Caleb Williams is isn't really about him. It's about the word generational, and it's about people saying
there's a game.
Oh, they're there's generational talent every year. Trevor Lawrence was a generational talent. Who was the other guy? Andrew Luck was a generational talent.
Right.
Wait. Marvin Harrison is generational.
3 guys in 25 years.
What'd you say?
You've named 3. So there are 3 guys in this century with Caleb Williams level potential. It was Luck. It was Trevor. And that's it. Peyton coming out didn't have the hype and the production that Caleb did. I'll remind y'all, Peyton lost to Florida 4 times.
There also is... Yeah, of course, you'll remind us.
My point being, again, it all, and this is where I've simply heard, because a lot of my friends, for those who know, I went to Missouri, you got a lot of Chicagoans down there. I have simply heard too many Bears fans be so unequivocally behind bringing Justin back that I'm sorry, I have to go, nope, my turn. Boom, here's all Caleb reasons, here are the Justin reasons. Oh, we're out. It just,
no, your hands were about the same height there, just so you know.
Okay.
You went. Here are the Caleb reasons. Here are the Justin reasons. And I don't think that's what you meant.
Okay, we'll do scales. So if we're weighing it, right, here's Caleb, here's Justin, we're going wah. Like it's so
Yeah.
much heavier on this scale.
No, but here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, like I did when I was advocating on the other show for the Bears to draft Caleb.
Right.
I'm gonna, advocate for the pro Justin crowd as someone who's very much on the fence about this. All right, so yeah, he put up insane numbers in all his years starting, but he did so at USC, and his numbers against top 25 defenses are substantially weaker. So, like, is that not a red flag?
That's to be expected. I would expect a guy to do worse against good defenses. Also,
Right.
you got to remember you also have to remember what USC was when he and Lincoln first got there. I'll also bring you back to the success he had at Oklahoma originally as a freshman.
Oh yeah.
And also something.
Watch his game where he comes in for Rattler against Texas. Like,
right.
That guy. No, he's look.
And remember, Rattler at the time was getting Heisman #1 overall pick product. Like he was projected in like off-season mock drafts the year before to be a top 10 pick that year.
Oh yeah. No, he was in our Madden drafts. He was
right,
like
exactly.
Always,
and so something else you said that I think is really important for people to contextualize. How many criticisms of Caleb have you heard that are about his actual on-field talent and ability?
One, and that is the one about him not performing against good defenses.
Sure, and my response to that would be mildly concerning. You play good teams with what were bluntly not good USC teams until this year, and even this year's team wasn't that good. Yeah, I expect him to struggle a little bit.
And look, I know, I think you remember this, Noah, too, and this was in our fantasy group chat. Shout out Danny Enriquez, a good friend of mine who's now, I guess, playing for the championship. But he said,
"It's my mark."
Yeah, I if I were you, I'd be upset about that too. But that's how the game works. But anyway, it's he said like what Caleb Williams is doing when he plays against good teams is he's pressing too much. Like he's just trying to force the ball. He's trying to play hero ball, and that's something that is to be expected out of top prospects. Right. Like to me, that's something that like when you play on a team, I'm sure Josh Allen did that all the time at Wyoming. Because, he's this elite quarterback playing for a not-so-elite program. No offense, Grandpa Harvey, if you're listening. Biggest Wyoming fan I know is my grandfather. But go Pokes. But yeah, I mean, just like, I don't know, man. I think people are just – I think the main criticisms I've heard of Caleb are, oh, he paints his nails against Utah. Oh, he cried when he lost a game. Oh, he wants to go cuddle his dogs. Like
the most moronic nonsense.
Like what are these criticisms from? Now, I have heard rumors that he doesn't want to play for the Bears.
As I would pay those no mind. I always think those rumors are always such BS. Literally outside of the Eli thing, name a time that's like actually been a thing in the NFL. And in NBA, it definitely is because you got like international players. But like, when was the last time a guy genuinely was like, I don't want you to, and like, it hasn't ever actually been a thing. These are also just like BS reports, probably just talking out my butt here for a second. Probably some report put out by a bored Bears beat writer. That would be my guess.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. And your friend Daniel's got a good point. Yeah, people criticizing Caleb sound like the old scouts in Moneyball. Yeah, that's what Frank definitely sounds like. And again, I'm not saying
but Caleb's a gamer.
I do think Justin has more talent than you're giving him credit for. I will say, like I don't necessarily now. I do think there's some offensive play calling things that really put him in a position to fail. Now that being said, Laz says, let's hope he's not another Johnny Football. Okay, that's a terrible comparison. No offense, Laz. Welcome to the show, Laz. But I don't think that's an apt comparison because Johnny Football he was making some really cool plays at Texas A&M.
It should have gone in like the second or third round. No. Like the bust comparison if you want.
Also, people forget Johnny Manziel was throwing it to a Hall of Fame receiver in Mike Evans.
Also, just another thing I want to point out real quick. So, like the worst NFL quarterback that Caleb's coach has produced is Baker Mayfield, who I would argue had it even worse than Justin to start his career, and is now playing at a not like MVP level, but a dang near MVP level for the.
He's playing not MVP, but he's playing at undeniably a franchise quarterback level.
Absolutely unequivocal.
Like he is he works with the Bucs, like he fits their vibe. Like I've liked watching him, minus the game where he played really well against the Bears. Like
Fair.
Baker Mayfield, like he shows a certain grasp on the quarterback position. And I would never have drafted Kyler Murray because I don't know. I like my quarterbacks to be a little bigger. It's just like there's
got you.
something like that's why I was not the biggest Bryce Young guy. But like you can't deny that he's been good. Like he's had a mostly good NFL career, right? Like he's made 2 Pro Bowls. He's had some really nice moments. And yeah, Bears hasn't gotten the correct offensive coordinator ever. Yeah, you're right about that, Ace. I completely agree with that. Like I think the Bears, like even in the year when the Trestman year where the Bears were putting up a lot of points on offense and a lot of yards, like there was still something missing with that offense. Like there's still
it wasn't very
great. Reluctance to run the ball is really what has plagued us in recent years, I'd say. But but go ahead.
I brought up last time that I was on. I was like, maybe they should like go old school and like consider going down the franchise running back route. Just especially if you move on to Caleb and have some money to spend.
Well, name a franchise running back besides McCaffrey. Okay, that's fair. But the Giants
will most likely be available. I don't think he resigns in New York.
I
think if you really wanted to like a big boy move and say, like as someone pointed out earlier, going all in when you have your rookie quarterback, Derrick Henry. If you wanted to say, let's get 2-3 years out of Derrick Henry and maximize Caleb's rookie contract,
I think, but the problem is, I think Derrick Henry's almost at that threshold where his legs are starting to wear down.
No, I get it. But I'm saying, like, there are guys out there who, if the idea is let's go all in with a young, talented quarterback, there are running backs you can go and get for sure.
I do think we've witnessed. I do think we've witnessed in football in general. I don't want to say the death of the franchise running back, but there's certainly few and far between.
I'll disagree because I think you've actually seen a resurgence in recent years. Breece Hall is a franchise running back. Undeniable, unequivocal.
But the problem is, ACL last year though, like that's the thing.
Came back and is going to be 1,000-yard rusher and look great, and he's going and will be even better next year because guys are always better in their second year after ACL. ETN, franchise running back. Damian Pierce, even though he's had a weird year, last year was 1,000-yard rusher. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think you're actually seeing.
Okay, well, I think these guys are all.
They're all young, right? No, I'm saying
all young and kind of unproven. Like I could see them all moving on. I think that LeGarrette Blount kind of changed the narrative on running backs, and I think he kind of changed it so where it's like. You don't want me taking hits in September, October. Like Derrick Henry, if he's smart, he doesn't sign with anyone until November or December of next year. Like that's what I think he should do. And then come into the playoffs with fresh legs or, like get like 8 to 12 carries every game in November and December. And then, like you're kind of like in the swing of things, but also you don't have the same wear and tear of a whole season. And then you get into the playoffs and, you're playing like, I don't know, like the 6-seeded Saints or something. Like you just run and run and run for days.
Grind that game out.
And Daniel, I guess, is a Titans fan here. I respect Titans fans as a Tennessean. Henry's going to sign another year with us. He ain't moving anywhere. Maybe.
I think so, too. I'm saying my point was if the Bears wanted to go the route of Caleb Williams, rookie contract, save money here, there are definitely running backs who, if you want to spend the money there and get an asset, you absolutely could do so. I think much lower level. I believe James Conner is in a contract year.
It's funny you say Conner because that is my comparison for Roschon Johnson.
I love Roschon coming out, but like we also don't know what he is right now.
Well, I think with running backs, for me at least, it's easier to tell because one thing the Bears have always done well is get running backs. Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen in a different way, but still, he was very good. While he was healthy. Obviously, Walter Payton is the greatest player of all time, in my opinion. Then, Neil Anderson, who followed Walter Payton, was pretty damn good, too. Thomas Jones, signing him as a free agent, he was excellent. Forte, like I could keep going. Montgomery, he's having a really good year with the Lions now, and he was a good, I think the Bears, I've always trusted their ability to bring in the right running backs. And I do think Roschon is another one of those guys who, again, like James Conner, I think is a very good comparison for him. I know that's not what you were doing, but I'm like, I wouldn't like that. That's why I guess I'm saying is I think Roschon could be like the feature franchise guy. I just don't think they've really given him that chance in the Getsy offense because Getsy's always subbing the running backs, and it's like that's part of why I'm saying like the death. That's part of why I'm saying like the death of the franchise running back because it's like there's just not as like they're not. Most coordinators like to really rotate their guys. Like there's not that bell cow anymore. It's a lot like starting pitchers, they don't go 7 or 8 innings. It's like you go 5 innings, then you bring in the bullpen, and it's like I don't know if I love that so much.
I'm actually again going to disagree. I think we've seen a resurgence of the franchise running back. If you went like team by how we do our thing, where we go like team by team in the NFL, I would say at least half, if not more, have a like RB1 who's the true RB1. Like just off the top of my head in the East, DeAndre Swift, Eagle, RB1. He doesn't split with Gainwell. I thought he was going to. He's the RB1. Tony Pollard, Dallas, is the RB1. Saquon Barkley is the RB1. Washington splits with Brian Robinson.
Right.
And Antonio Gibson. That's
I
literally
don't
three guys right there.
I don't think Pollard's very good, by the way.
Neither do I, but he's clearly the RB. But my point being, I think you're seeing a resurgence in the value of a guy who is the every down guy. Could Roshan be that guy? Absolutely. I think he's got the talent. He has very little wear on him. My point being, we are seeing what I think is a resurgence and a comeback of that franchise running back. And I think that would be incredibly valuable to the Bears to get. And I know it seems like doing so would be going. So hypothetically, just play the game for a second. Let's say they paid Saquon Barkley a 3-year contract to come in Chicago. I know it seems like that's going against the grain and going old school and not adapting, but I actually think it's more of an investment into the team itself.
Yeah, I see why you would say that.
Where are they really going to spend money on the offense outside of running back? You don't really need to spend it at wide receiver. You don't really need to spend it at tight end.
Well, they don't need to spend on tight end. And I mean, Cole Kmet, unfortunately, he's injured. He might miss the last 2 games, which I don't necessarily mind at this point.
And on the offensive line, there's maybe one new starter coming in.
Well, look, we're going to need a new center because Lucas Patrick
that's what I'm thinking. Right, the center. That's all I think of.
And I do think offensive tackle is important at this point.
Is Borum not that guy?
Borum is a swing.
Oh, it's swing. Okay, I thought he was
a solid swing. He's a solid swing, but he's a swing.
Jenkins so you pay one tackle, and with all your cap space, you still have $1 billion available,
True.
And your defense is already good. I'm just saying, I think spending money on a running back makes a lot more sense than you're giving it.
No, that's fair. And look, I'm not anti that. Well,
no, I understand.
Yeah, and I'm really more talking about like football philosophy. Is that like It does feel like teams are straying from that, but also like I think we have some pretty good guys in house that could carry the load. But I also just think like just from a game by game standpoint, and this I talked about this on the show after the Browns game. The Bears, they were winning that game 17-7 in the fourth quarter, and they lost. And Justin Fields threw the ball 40 times, and they ran it like a total of, I don't know, like 15, 16 times, give or take a few just in improvised runs. And it's just like, it's just, to me, that's malpractice when you're leading by 10 points on the road against one of the best defenses in the league, and you're just straight up refusing to run the ball. Like, to me, is that not a certain level of coaching incompetence?
It's definitely a level of coaching incompetence. And I don't mean this as like picking on Justin. I know I've been very critical.
Sure.
But that's another paragraph side note real quick. That's another reason I would think you should bring Caleb in. If you're that, take out the context of like, the 10 being up 10 points. If you're that petrified at the sheer notion of 40 throws from your quarterback, like
usually I'm not petrified by that notion. I'm more petrified.
Justin, you are. If I said you want to
not with Justin.
Justin 40 times, you go, oh, what the heck?
No, it was more that specific game against.
But yes, that is horrible coaching, and there's just no. That's one of those things where there's no excuse from the head coach. There's no excuse from the offensive coordinator. There's no
excuse for not running the ball in those situations, and that's kind of what I was hammering on. That's what Foulmouth, who's on our show, who's on the main show, was saying a lot. Like, why don't just fucking pound the rock when you have a lead late in the game. Yeah. And I do see what you're saying is like if 40 quarterbacks get you a little unhinged. I mean, if 40 throws from your quarterback gets you unhinged, then maybe he's not the guy. I get that, but also like. I'm
game, I get what you're saying.
I'm talking. Yeah, this game was. You're playing Myles Garrett. Like, people don't realize how fucking good Myles Garrett is.
And you're lining him up against either a swing or a rookie. Like, can we?
Exactly. Or Braxton Jones or
Braxton Jones
or Darnell Wright. Exactly. Like, can we please do what these guys do well and just and just run the ball. Like, just like. So many games the Bears lose that they should win because they refuse to run it.
As of right now, if I'm at Eberflus, maybe I'm sitting going, you know what? I really don't have a running back that I trust to get the ball several times. And I understand the whole rotational running backs. No, I get that. But I think particularly late in games when defenses are worn down, that's when we talk. Last time I was on, I talked with DJ about It's hard when you're a rotation back. Where is the tackle going, inside or outside? Is the linebacker shading inside or outside? Is he bailing out or is he coming downhill? Like, all those things matter so much in late game. If you as a coach don't have a guy that you feel like you can turn around, give him the ball, and go get 4 yards,
You're talking about not just like a talented guy, but like a shrewd running back who could read what a linebacker is doing.
Who has the strength to do it, the ball, the vision, the cutting ability to just go and get you 4 yards every play on an 8-10 minute drive. Like, yeah, I'll tell you, as a coach, who, when I was coaching, I'll tell you right now, my quarterback and my receivers were better than my running backs. Absolutely. There were times when it was late games and we were sitting there going like, am I better off throwing this thing on 3rd and 2? Like, those are real questions you have to ask. Am I better off throwing this thing on 2nd and 8, knowing if I run it, I'm probably only getting a yard or 2, and I'm definitely not running it and getting it on 3rd and 6. Like, these things matter. Which, again, I'm not trying to like harp on they should sign Saquon. I'm not. I'm really
no. And I'm not even anti Saquon. Like,
or even like if you told me that like in the draft in the 2nd round, because that's another thing. Last year we had Gibbs and Bijan. There's no like big name running backs this year. There are some really solid ones, but if you told me in the 2nd round that you're like a Travion Henderson out of Ohio State, I would say, oh, that's a really good investment at a position that might not be as valued in some people's eyes as maybe it should be.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I think that the main reason why they aren't as valued is because there's just so many good ones. Like, there are, like, I think that they're just getting better and better.
So here's what I would say: the Bears right now have at least one good running back.
They have, I'd say they have 2.5. I think more. I think Roschon and Foreman are both very good players.
Right. So we know that we have seen the Bears in the last several years have a couple of good backs. How's that worked? Not great.
Yeah,
and you can say what you want about play calling, you can say what you want about all the other outside stuff. Regardless of that, I didn't use irregardless. You're welcome. Regardless of that,
nice.
This has been the results. Regularly finishing with a bottom 10 record and occasionally having like one good team that has to rely on their defense, and you have to pray that they hold them under 3 touchdowns. Like, that's what the Bears have kind of been with their running back room.
You're not incorrect. You're not incorrect. And that's why I'm saying, like, right now where we're at, I like what the defense has been doing. I think that the defense
they've been overperforming in my opinion.
I think the defense, but I think they'll be able to keep this up next year. Like, I do think.
Oh no, I agree. I'm saying I think guys are playing better than we expected them to.
Oh yeah, I think Edwards, especially, by the way, like, he's just a monster, absolute monster. I know you missed that guy, but hey, y'all are doing just fine.
We're starting Shaq Leonard and an undrafted rookie from Michigan State.
Hey, Shaq played well last week, no?
Yeah, but he's like had 3 back surgeries and the reason got cut. I miss TJ.
No, I hear you.
I just miss TJ. I always gotta remember, you know this. TJ was like my guy who I knew.
You love TJ. Even
I knew he was a 4-year starter at Wisconsin. I said, you don't start at linebacker for 4 years at Wisconsin unless you can play ball. I texted you when we signed him as an undrafted free agent, unbelievably hyped, and you were like, he's an undrafted linebacker. Calm down. But then I got to watch him go from undrafted making the 53-man roster to getting on special teams to getting some linebacker snaps on the side to becoming like the guy. And remember, the Eagles haven't really had like a guy at linebacker in quite a minute. I mean, Jeremiah Trotter is arguably our last, Jordan Hicks outside of him. Like, we haven't had our guy. And it was a homegrown guy that I got to watch grow up and become a player in Philadelphia. And then they were like, okay, go sign somewhere else. I was like, no, it's our guy.
I feel that. It's sad, but hey, I mean, I'm sure you're happy you got his bag, and it's well deserved.
Right. I'm always thrilled when my guys go and get their bags. When even the BS with how Chauncey left, and it was BS. At least he got his bag. Granted, he now blows his ACL. But getting back to my point. My point being, I think we have seen the Bears try and do the let's have a couple of good running backs thing. And I just, has it worked? Has it worked is arguable. Have the Bears, the team, had the results they have wanted? Absolutely not. And I think you have to, at certain points, take radical approaches to changes, such as
that said. I also think it's fair to say
on a definition of value. Also, they spent a ton of money on Edmonds and Edwards, which are linebacker. I would argue is like the running back of the NFL, of the defensive NFL.
Sure, I agree.
More like specialized guys, kind of a pass rushing specialist guy, a coverage specialist guy, a speed guy, like more specialists at linebackers, as opposed to there's like 3 or 4 true off-ball every down linebackers. Bears spent a ton of money on 2 of them. Do it again. Go unconventional again on the other side of the ball. It worked for the defense.
But to counter that point, Noah, it just like, well, not really counter it, but just kind of add on to it and slightly counter it, I guess, is like running backs. Obviously, like, yeah, like what the Bears have been doing at running back has not been working. But also, when have we had a good receiver in recent years besides DJ Moore? And that's why I'm saying, like,
I would think Brandon Marshall's probably your last great one.
Right? Yeah, Brandon Marshall.
Alshon.
Marshall is probably like a top 5 offensive player in Bears history.
Right. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey was a really good wide receiver.
No, Alshon Jeffrey was really good, but I'm saying, like, in recent years, like in the Nagy to Eberflus era, the best receiver has been Allen Robinson, who at the end of his contract really kind of like started phoning it in, which I get it. I would phone it in if I was, being called in to block defensive linemen as a wide receiver. Nagy sucks, man. And the Chiefs are
there for a second.
Who now?
I know St. Brown was there. For
St. Brown, but he's not like a guy. He's a good blocker, but he's
Kevin
not. He's
White. Like I'm trying.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying I'm hoping the Bears like make serious investments in the wide receiver position. And that's also another reason why I'd understand if they went the route of, okay, we're going to roll with Fields, but we're going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. because that in today's NFL, like, put him next to DJ Moore, that's scary.
It's really hard. And we're seeing, particularly in the same way you talked about, the NFL is kind of going the like back by committee approach. We're seeing teams more and more have pairs of receivers as opposed to a single receiver.
Yep.
I think that's sort of the trend.
It's working with Seattle.
Working with Seattle, working in Philly. Everyone has to. Even Dallas with Brandon Cooks, even though he's like kind of not like whatever. Like everybody has 2 guys now. It's just the way it is.
Have you noticed how much obviously you've noticed how much the Chiefs are struggling?
Yeah, which
they
like
have one guy.
We have talked about how like I'm a little bit more critical of Patrick's temperament than others might be, but like you're saying even they have Pat Mahomes and they don't have
with Mahomes. Like that's why I kind of get his temperament at this point. That's kind of our argument is that like
if he's like I'm so good, help me. I get that, but it's like I also think like
the difference between Brady and Mahomes is when Brady would get mad, he'd get mad directly at his receivers. And Mahomes isn't that kind of guy, so he's like taking it out on the refs, which comes off as more of a complaining crybaby type thing.
It's not just it's going everywhere else. It's going to the refs. He's taking it out on Andy Reid. He's taking it out on Josh Allen. He's taking it out on the post-game interviews. It's just and that's what like rubs me the wrong way. And maybe this is like my coach brain. I'm like, no. You go talk to your teammates. These are the guys that you bleed with and sweat with and die with. If you can't go up to him and be like, "Hey, yo, you dropped that thing again," and I'm gonna tell coach to pull you. Like, if you that's how that's supposed to be done. And I think there are different ways.
He's undermining his own leverage here, like, or he's underestimating. Like, you're
Pat Mahomes. You can do whatever
you're the
you
hottest
want
thing on the planet right now. Like you are. I think he's because I think quarterback's the toughest position. I think he's the best athlete in the world right now.
Right.
Like, maybe not like the best, like
there is no one better at their. I would argue there's no one better at their sport than Pat is at football.
And I agree to that. I completely agree with that. Now he's not the MVP this year, but
no,
but he's still the best at his.
But that's an interesting argument. That's an interesting argument. I have always had a different view of MVP and what it means. To me, an MVP is like if you it's the guy who is their team would be most impacted if he wasn't there. So can
you imagine if like Chase Daniel was starting all year for the Chiefs? They'd be like
right. So the comparison I use is that all those years when LeBron was like in his peak, but other guys were winning MVPs because we got enamored with James Harden for a year, or we got enamored with this guy, whatever it may have been.
LeBron was the best.
We all knew LeBron was the best player in the league. There was a time when Kobe, he was losing MVPs to Nash or to Dunk. He was better than Nash that year. Everybody knows it. The Dirk year. Yeah, maybe.
We get fatigue. We get
fatigued. And so I think that's just how it is.
I want to address before we do got to wrap up pretty soon. I want to address this one question. If Flacco wins the Super Bowl, is he now Hall of Fame? Is it enough recontextualization of his career to have a second ring? I say yeah.
Hard to keep him out. It would be really hard to keep him out.
If he wins the Super Bowl with the Ravens and the Browns,
there's already an argument that for him now as we stand, Super Bowl winner, ton of yards.
I think if he goes to the Super Bowl with the Browns, he's a Hall of Famer. I think there's no question.
Yeah,
Even if he loses, like I don't think like this is the Browns.
right.
It's the
And
Browns.
he was starting on like 3 days, and like
I read a post. Noah, you're gonna love this. It was like I might have sent it to you. I can't remember, but it was like
he didn't know
Joe
his
Flacco.
names.
It said when Joe Flacco came into this league, he was going up against Troy Polamalu. He's got this. He knows what he's doing.
He's fine. He's got it. He's totally got it. He played the Niners and sees Hufanga and is like, is that
this guy practiced?
No, new guy.
He practiced every day in the offseason against Ed Reed and Ray Lewis.
He'll be okay.
And Hilogi Nada probably. Like, he's prepared for anything. This guy, like, he is.
No, I would say absolutely. If he wins the Super Bowl, shoot, I would say if he makes it there. Again, I think there's an argument
also
now to put him.
Then we'll have to have the Amari Cooper discussion too.
Yeah. Oh,
man, that's a lot. You know, I think
there's a lot of discussions here.
I think Mike Evans
this is like the craziest thing to me that like doesn't get talked about. We all forget that Nick Chubb's knee got sent to the shadow realm earlier this year.
Yeah.
And he is still producing with like a rookie running back in Jerome Ford and like 29-year-old Kareem Hunt. He doesn't have a great running game. It's not like he has like a great running game to lean on.
Off the street, too. Okay. You know, like these guys,
and,
man.
Wait a minute. And their left tackle tear his ACL too. And
you know what I'm rooting for? You know what I want to see happen? I want to see
both tackles out.
I want to see the Browns play the Ravens in Baltimore in the playoffs. Flacco going home against the Ravens the same weekend as we get the Rams at Lions. So Stafford goes to play the Lions.
I would love.
Oh man, I want that chaos. Bring me that brand of chaos. That's all I want.
That would be really fun.
That would be must watch. And honestly, I hope. Oh man, I hope the Rams win, and I hope the Ravens win because fuck the Lions and fuck the Browns. Nah, I probably go the other way actually, but it would just be really funny. Oh, we got some new comments. Oh yeah, Ace appreciates our humor. That's always good. But yeah, I think what was I gonna say? Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson. Do you think the MVP is Lamar?
Begrudgingly, yes. Your people are going to jump down my throat, and that's okay. If I have a vote, I'm voting for Christian McCaffrey.
Interesting.
The combination.
Really, I don't know, man. I think that if you take him away, the Niners still got Debo, and they still got Trent Williams, and they still got. I know, he's really good. He's really good.
But here's the thing: it's like we don't, in the same way, when like I kind of don't really accept like they haven't played anybody, or I'm like, well, you don't control who you play. We can't control that he didn't get hurt. And like we have seen where he got like dinged up in games where Elijah Mitchell, because I had Elijah on my fantasy team, he didn't do like anything. Like it really wasn't. But it's like for me, it's the combination of the statistics that he's putting up and the fact that again, he is so perfect for that system. As opposed to like the system needing to adapt to players, he just is it. He's just it. You know what I mean? I know when the trade happened, I think both of us kind of went, Carolina got a good deal. Running back, an injury history, and like he's been absolutely incredible. And again, I do think actually the inverse.
Miscegenation. What does that mean, Daniel? I don't know what that word means.
I'm not smart enough. Daniel has a lot of big words that I don't. I would say in reality, I would go CMC, then Lamar, then probably. It's been a really unimpressive year for players, frankly. Honestly, at that point, depending on like what he did as far as getting postseason, you could convince me to give Baker an MVP vote.
Got it. I don't know. I get it.
Who else would I give it to? Like, no one in the AFC West has been particularly impressive. No one in the NFC East would deserve it. Okay, Tua. Tyreek. Is it Tyreek? Tyreek is tough. So, but it's interesting. When's the last time that we had genuine arguments for a non-quarterback winning the MVP? It's been a minute.
I think Cooper Kupp had a very real argument in 2021.
Okay, so I would call that the single outlier year within the last.
Sure. Yeah, I'd agree to that. I think it was.
So yeah, if I'm in reality, like gun to my head, like realistic voting, I probably go 1 Lamar. 2 CMC, 3. I would probably go Tyreek, but
I think so too.
You could convince me to do Tua instead. Because we saw when Tyreek went out, he still was like balling out and hooking up with Waddle and like.
I'd probably take Hill over. I don't know. Hill over CM. I think Hill and CMC neck and neck.
Right, like who provides more value to their team?
Like if they did an offensive player of the year for AFC and NFC, they both win, like for sure. There's no question about that. Yeah.
And then right, like everyone, like whoever, like so, if, like CMC doesn't get it, he'll get his. If he doesn't get it, he'll get his. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, they'll each get something. And honestly, I'd be delighted to see Lamar win it again. I just love Lamar Jackson. I think he's so good. And I also think like if there is the case, if you take him off the Ravens, what are the Ravens? You know, and that's why, like, they're a really good defense for sure. You know,
right? No, I get what you're saying.
But yeah, no, I lean towards Lamar right now, but I also like I get the arguments for McCaffrey and Hill. Like, they're easily the two best players.
I still haven't seen
the players in the league.
Explosive games from Tyree. We've seen 4 touchdown games from CMC. We haven't really seen like an MVP moment or an MVP game from Lamar. He's putting up good stats and consistently having good games, but I can't think of like a 30-yard run on 3rd and 3 to seal a game. I just can't.
He hasn't had his Heisman moment this year.
Right, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. He's just been very rock solid.
Rock solid. Which this might be a year where like rock solid, don't make mistakes, you win an MVP. Could be one of those years.
Yeah, could be. I can't believe people are wanting the Bears to lose. Like, what is wrong with people?
Oh no, they should. You absolutely should. I'll go even more aggressive. If you as a Bears fan last week, what you were saying earlier, if you were rooting against the Packers and rooting for the Panthers last week, you are a selfish Bears fan. Because for you, the momentary happiness of winning that game was more important than the long-term success and getting the draft position.
I agree. I completely agree to that. About the Panthers for sure. You
overall, you want to improve your draft positioning. I do think we've talked about it extensively. You want to get like 1 or 2 solid wins throughout the year, so guys aren't completely like abandoning ship and like trying to like mutiny the coach shit. You know what I mean? But at this point, you're not making playoffs. You're like at this point, I would prefer to look. What's the benefit of winning these 2 games other than like momentum going into next year and improving Justin's draft capital?
Here's the one. We play Green Bay week 18. I'm not rooting against.
I'll hear that one. You're right. I would say let's end the season by beating Green Bay and potentially spoiling their playoffs. For sure.
Yeah, that's all I care about right now.
If you don't win, you go, okay, great. Draft position.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Easy was in our group chat, and it was so funny. It wasn't that serious. Packers needed to win. I wasn't rooting for them, though. I wasn't rooting for them. I wasn't rooting for the Packers. I was rooting
against the Panthers.
Right. And it just so happened that those fucking cheeseheads were the ones that were playing against them. So yeah, I hear you, Ace. And I want. I mean, look, I don't know. Like when the Bears play the Falcons this weekend, I think we're gonna stomp them. I think we're gonna kick their ass. Ooh, and I'm not thrilled about it because I know that
Falcons are playing playoffs.
Yeah, but they also have it's
there's a lot of Carolina.
It's Taylor Heineke in bad weather. Like, I don't know how much I love it. Like, it's I do think our defense has been really good. I think I like the Bears' chances of winning this game and not making the playoff.
Bears in the parlay is what you're saying.
No, I said no. Opposite of that. Never bet the Falcons. Never bet them.
Oh, fair.
Or against. My 2 stay away teams are the Falcons and the Chargers.
Those are so valid. Valid.
I will never bet on either of those teams. I might bet on the Vikings, maybe a player prop every now and then, but and also I'm not a gambling man. I don't put many parlays, but yeah. Anyhow, and lastly, we could do a quick little touch on the Eagles. Are y'all gonna finish this thing strong? Like, you still got a shot at that 1 seed.
Technically, they do. It's really inexcusable. They're not going to get the 1. Like, if they don't, they could have just beaten Seattle, control their destiny. They didn't do it. I do think there's a very real
objectively, like as an outsider, y'all had a monumentally challenging end of the schedule.
Middle of the schedule. The middle of our schedule was absolutely brutal. There was a 6-week span where I said to you, we need to win 2. I win 3. I'm happy. They ended up winning 4. So kick plan. We talked about.
So that's why I don't think it's inexcusable for y'all. I think y'all could. Yeah.
Talk about every year. It's about the 1 or 2 games that you shouldn't have lost and won, or should have won and lost, however it may go. As of right now, I think it's more likely they lose in the wild card round than make the Super Bowl or NFC Championship. I think the defense is so weak. I think our linebackers are arguably the worst in the NFL. Bradbury is old and slow and has very, very clearly was playing his tail off on a 1-year contract last year, got a 3-year bag, and doesn't care anymore. It's abundantly clear. They changed defensive coordinators in the middle of the season. The offensive play calling is putrid. It is genuinely horrible. There's so much going on. You know what it reminds me of? It was Brady's last year Tampa team, where they won and they got there and they had a home playoff game, but all year we talked about the struggles as opposed to the positives. It's hard. We've really talked about Philadelphia's struggles for like 3 months now. For 3 months or so, it's really been what they're doing wrong, not right. I don't feel like there's.
I also think, look, as an outsider, I do think there's a case to be made that y'all have had, like, this is the adversity that y'all haven't had as much.
They're definitely fatigued. They played one of the hardest schedules in the NFL. They're fatigued.
Yeah.
No, they also, and I pointed this out to you several times, and no one wanted to listen to me. It drove me crazy. They were unbelievably healthy last year. They were incredible with injuries. No real major, like, they were great. This year hasn't been the case. Avonte Maddox went out week 2. Blankenship's been in and out of the lineup.
It was hard to listen. It was hard to listen to because it felt like y'all were still winning so many games.
Right. But like you could, for me,
a lot of good plug and play for the Eagles this year.
Right, but I saw the cracks in the armor very early, where I was kind of going like, our linebackers really can't cover anyone in space, and like Reed really might have kind of capped out as and Bradbury's looking a little slow out there. Like, I saw the problems early on, and then you saw them try 1,000 different guys at slot corner. Keely Ringo, who is my draft darling, our boy, has actually played really well the last 2 games, which is really exciting for me because there was nobody like a bigger fan of his than me. I think there's definitely a chance that they use the Cardinals and Giants games as like momentum boosters and like launching platforms. And if you said they won both those games by 3+ touchdowns, it wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me if we won them by single possessions. Like, that's who this team is right now. Will they turn it on in 3 weeks? Maybe. I don't think
that checks out, and I do think that I could see a scenario where y'all turn it on for the playoffs and, like, just really get committed to running the ball, shortening games, and then just letting your pass rushers eat, because it's still a good
an Eagle friend of mine pointed it out. She made a very good point where she said, we're playing absolutely nobody the last month of the season. It's all like dud games. This is not the time to open up the playbook and start showing things. This is where we stick to our bubble screens and inside zones and shit. And then when we get in the playoff, because I looked at the Seattle game, and granted, Jalen was sick and it was in the rain. I don't think they had a single pass 20 yards or more downfield besides the AJ catch. I don't think they attempted a shot more than 20 yards downfield. Whereas last year, there were a ton of explosive plays downfield. I think that's sort of been also the key element missing from their offense. Their defenses aren't threatened vertically at all because they're not taking vertical shots, so they can come and crash down hard on those bubble screens and the RPO and shit. But yeah, I think the Eagles could turn it on, and I think you could definitely see them like open up the playbook and kind of become a whole new team in the postseason. But as of right now, I'm definitely more worried than I am excited.
Yeah, I
get it. I'm a spoiled Eagles fan. Wham, fine.
No. Look, you're in a playoff run now. Like, this is where shit starts to count. I do think you overreacted a little bit about Lane Johnson, but that's a whole.
Fair.
But
that's a whole. And I think there's a chance that the Rams beat San Francisco, because that's always been a weird match the last couple of years. And I think if the
Eagles I don't think so. I don't. The Niners have the Rams number, except that one playoff game,
which even that one was like catch a interception Jaquiski Tart. Honestly, I think getting the 1 seed would be getting the 1 seed for the Niners, I'll be honest, I don't think it's as big of a deal because they're playing so fucking well. They're playing such good football. If you told me, they have to take on, I'm trying to think of the NFC playoff picture right now, the Vikings in the wild card round or whatever, like, that wouldn't worry me. Yeah, I worry about the Eagles in the wild card round. So them getting the 1 would be huge. Probably won't happen. I also think they've had a problem this year of playing down to teams. They have not really crushed teams they should crush, particularly lately. They play down to the talent around them, which is always, to me, the first sign of a team that's going to disappoint in postseason.
Yeah, that is kind of a problem, but at the same time, like, this is, I'm still kind of stuck on what your friend said about, like, this is the time when you don't want to show them what you have.
It was a great point. She made a great
that is a really good point. And it's like, oftentimes, like, I see teams like late in the season, like this, when they're running like fake punts and like, oh, you better watch out for this kind of thing in the playoffs. No, don't do that. Don't show them what you're going to do. Are you fucking kidding? Like, no, keep it simple. And I do think that, I think criticisms of Sirianni are valid, but I do think he does know how to occasionally keep it simple. And I think that's good. Like, that's such a, man, I'd love a fucking coach that keeps things simple every now and then.
No, I get it.
Oh man, I just realized I named this show Chicago Clubhouse Netwiork Presents instead of Network, but that's okay. We all make mistakes. Anyway, Noah, it's been fun, man. As always, love shooting the shit with you, talking some ball. And I do appreciate you, being maybe the voice of reason to Bears fans about the whole Caleb Williams.
I will always be happy to come on and talk to any of your other co-hosts about Justin. I will be happy to do so.
Please, we need some.
I'll be happy to create some content for you, bud.
Yeah, we need this echo chamber to be a little less echoey and a little more receptive. And again, I'm not taking a side here. I am choosing to refuse to take a side. And I understand both perspectives. That being said, yeah, we need some, DJ Moore is kind of the only one who's anti-Fields right now. And we need some, we definitely need some more people to say their pieces.
I'm just going to put that out there. Says something for me. That's all. I'm just, if the NFL guy is on my side, that makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah, that is true. No, the guy who actually played in the league is, on your side. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Of course, Daniel, great having you on the show.
Love you, X.
Robbo, of course. Thank you, Dad, for being a supportive father. And Laz and Amp, thank you for tuning in. Frank, always fun talking shit with you. And everyone else who, tuned in and, didn't comment. The lurkers, we appreciate you. We always appreciate the lurkers on the show. And with that said, remember, this is a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.
This has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.